Good morning, children. Let us start with a new chapter today. That is about soils. So all of you see in soil, isn't it? So when the foundation for a house is done, what will be done? First they have to dig the earth, isn't it? So dig the ground. When you dig the ground, can you see the different layers there? It will be in different colors, isn't it? Okay, so that is where the plants are growing. The mud part is called as the soil. Okay. Now, soils. Spring season has arrived. It was a pleasant day, mild sun and cool breeze. My teacher decided to take us out to the ground. There he saw the gardener digging. So what happened here? Spring season has arrived. You know, during the spring season what happens? The new leaves, new flowers, everything will start blooming, isn't it? So that is called as the spring season. So what happened? Spring season has arrived. It was a pleasant day. So when you see complete greenery, how do you feel? You feel very happy, isn't it? A beautiful nature when you see, you feel very happy. So it was a pleasant day. Mild sun and cool breeze. What is this mild sun? The sun's light was not producing more heat. It was mild. It was not more. When more heat means you don't like to go outside, isn't it? So it was very less heat. So it was mild sun and cool breeze. Breeze also what happened? The wind was also blowing very slowly. It was very nice day it was. So mild sun and cool breeze. My teacher decided to take us out to the ground. So what the teacher did? Okay, anyway the climate condition is very pleasant today. So we will go out to the ground, the teacher said, and the teacher has taken the children outside. There we saw the gardener digging. So when they went out to the ground, they have seen the gardener. There was garden in that school ground. So what happened? The gardener was digging the ground. We got curious and went closer to take a look. So what is this gardener doing? Why is he digging? They wanted to see, and what will be there in the soil, they wanted to know. So they were very curious about it. My teacher explained, "Come on, children." So what did the teacher say? Come, children. Let's help the gardener. So we will also join and we will also help the gardener so that the work will be done easier and faster, isn't it? So what happened? The teacher has called all the students also to the gardener. We grabbed the shovel and helped him dig a hole about 2 to 3 feet deep. So what happened? There will be a shovel. Shovel is an instrument which is used to dig the ground and remove the mud from the ground. That is, from the hole they have to remove the mud, isn't it? For that they use the instrument for the shovel. Okay. So we grabbed the shovel and helped him dig a hole about 2 to 3 feet deep. So they also took the shovel and they started digging the ground. Only gardener was digging, isn't it? Now the students also joined along with him. Gardener Bhaiya then got a huge sack filled with smelly garbage. So what happened? Gardener has already dug the ground. He has made a hole about 3 to 4 feet high, deep. Why? He wants to grow some plants there. Okay. So for that reason, what happened? Gardener Bhaiya. Bhaiya means brother. So gardener brother, because children were calling him as brother. Gardener Bhaiya then got a huge sack filled with smelly garbage. So what happened? After digging the ground, he went and he got a sack. Sack means gonichila. Okay. So he took a sack of huge sack, big sack filled with smelly garbage. Means what? Special it was what? The manure was there. Smelly garbage means there was some manure in this. It had in it vegetable and fruit peels, paper, withered flowers, rags and whatnot. So what did that bag consist of? Bag was consisting of garbage. And what was the garbage consisting of? Vegetable and fruits waste. Vegetable and fruits waste or peels, paper, withered flowers. Flowers which is already thrown. After using, you throw that flowers, that is called as withered flowers. Rags. Rags means all the waste materials. Rags. Everything was there in that. What? The garbage. Okay. He asked us to rip apart the waste into pieces. So he said, we just sorted all the garbage, just sort it out. He dumped all this into the pit. And then what he did? He has dumped all these things into the pit. The pit means that hole what he has already dug. Okay, that is called as a pit. Then he covered it with a layer of dry leaves and a thin layer of soil. So after putting all that garbage inside the pit, what he did? He covered it with dry leaves. Dry leaves were fallen, isn't it? Garden means you can understand, no? So dry leaves will be fallen and every day they sweep and remove it, isn't it? So those dry leaves, after putting this garbage inside the pit, he covered it with dry leaves and a thin layer of soil, and he got little soil, mud. And that mud also he just put it on the dry leaves. All that happened in the pit only. I thought, what is he doing? So one child started thinking, what is he doing? Why is he putting this garbage, then leaves and then soil? He is covering everything. Why? What is the reason? The child was very curious to know. Is there no other way of disposing waste? So the child is asking, there is no other way to dispose, to throw this garbage anywhere? The child is asking. Gardener Bhaiya chuckled. After some time, the soil will be healthy and we will grow a rose plant here. Now, gardener say, what is he saying? If we throw this somewhere, this garbage, if we throw somewhere, what happens? That place will be dirty, it will start smelling, foul smell will be there, and it is not good to throw, but at the same time, we can use it for plants. So that's, he is explaining that. What he said? After some time, the soil will be healthy and we will grow a rose plant here. So what he is saying, his intention is to say that this will become manure. Okay, organic manure, because you are using all the waste materials which is produced in the house, isn't it? All the vegetable, fruits and all those things. So what happens? They have got more nutrients in that. Okay, so if you just put it with in the pit and then put leaves and other soil, now what happens finally? That will turn into the organic manure. So that's what he started explaining to the child. So once it turns into manure, what happens? It is rich with minerals, isn't it? It is rich with minerals, so that soil will be fertile. And because once the soil is fertile, what happens? It is very useful for the plants to grow. So he said, after a few days, what happens? This will turn into manure, and then if you grow plants, what happens? The plants will grow very well. That he tried to explain to the child. The upper layer of the earth which supports plant life is known as soil. So what is soil? The topmost layer or the upper layer of the earth is called as the soil. It is black or dark brown in color. So what is the color of that soil special which is present on the topmost layer of the earth? It is either black or dark brown in color, consisting of a mixture of organic remains. What is this organic remains? Already I told you, these plants and animal waste. You call them as organic remains. So clay and rock particles. What all it consists of? Organic remains means plant and animal products. Then clay. You have seen that soft mud, that is clay. And rock particles means what? Small stone pieces. So all this will be present, he said. Soil is an important natural resource and supports life on this planet. So what does the soil do? It is helping in growth. So as you can see here, soil is an important natural resource and supports life on this planet either directly or indirectly. So he is saying that soil is an important natural resource. Why is it called as natural resource? Because it is found naturally. It is not made by man. It is found naturally, isn't it? So it is available in the nature. Nobody can do it. So it is called as a natural resource and supports life on this planet. So what happens? Because of this soil only, what is happening? We are able to grow plants. And once plants are growing, what happens? They are producing food. And that food is consumed by all the other living organisms, isn't it? So that is what here it is explained. Soil is an important natural resource which is available in the nature and supports life. It is going to help in supporting the life. How it is helping supporting life? Because if soil is there only, what happens? The fertility of the soil will help in the growth of plants. And if plants are there, what happens? They produce the food. They prepare the food by photosynthesis, isn't it? So they produce food, and that food will be used by all the other living organisms. So that is how the soil is very, very important, because it is a natural resource and supports life on this planet either directly or indirectly. Why it is said as directly or indirectly? Because there are so many animals which depend directly on plants, right? So when they depend directly on plants, what happens? You call it as direct. That means especially herbivores. What are herbivores? The animals which directly depend on plants for their food. Now for example, cow, elephant, what do they eat? They eat only the plant products, right? Yes, so it is called as directly. Then what is indirectly? Indirectly means the carnivores. Carnivores means who? The animals which depend on herbivores. Herbivores depend on plants, isn't it? So the carnivores are depending on herbivores for flesh and other things as food. So what happens? We call that as indirectly. Understood? Directly herbivores depend on plants. Carnivores depend on herbivores. So indirectly they are depending on plants. Did you understand? So that's the meaning here. Soil is an important natural resource and supports life on this planet either directly or indirectly. Plants grow in soil. Where do the plants grow? They grow in soil. Plants provide us with food. So what are the food they provide us? Fruits, vegetables, cereals. Cereals means what? Rice, ragi, wheat, jowar and all that comes under cereals. And pulses means all the grams. Okay? Tor gram, then Bengal gram, Urd gram, all this. Green gram. Okay? They all come under pulses. So grams and dals. ಕಾಳುಗಳು ಮತ್ತು ಬೇಳೆಗಳು. ಇದು ದವಸ ಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು, ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಮತ್ತು ಬೇಳೆ, ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಗೋಧಿ ಅಂತದೆಲ್ಲ ಬರೋದು cereals. Did you understand? So that is cereals, and pulses is all grams and dals come under pulses. Then it is also going to provide us clothes, isn't it? Especially which one? Cotton and jute. They are fibrous plants, isn't it? Which provide fiber or thread-like structures. So cotton and jute, they are going to provide. Who? The plants are going to provide medicines. How plants are going to produce medicines? You have heard of turmeric, arshina, ginger, shunti, isn't it? Then clove, isn't it? All these things, what are they? They are all for medicinal purposes. Neem, tulsi and all this. For medicinal purposes we use. So, what are the plants going to provide us? They are going to provide us food. They are going to provide us clothes and medicines and so many things. That is why it is given us etc. Understood? They provide us with oxygen to breathe and consume carbon dioxide. So when do the plants provide us oxygen? Now children, these green plants, especially the green plants prepare their own food by a process called photosynthesis. That means in the presence of sunlight and from the soil minerals and water, and because this their green color is there, no, that is chlorophyll pigment is there, and that will help in trapping the solar energy. That means sun's energy will be directly taken by them and they prepare the food. Okay, so that food we call it as carbohydrates actually. Okay, so those food, they are going to, when they are going to prepare, that is by when the process of photosynthesis is carried on. What is photosynthesis? Preparation of food by the green plants in the presence of sunlight. That is called as photosynthesis. So during that process, what do the plants do? The plants take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen only during photosynthesis. And all other living organisms respire, isn't it? They breathe, isn't it? So when they breathe, what happens? They are taking in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. All the other living organisms during breathing process, respiration process, they take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. And when plants prepare for food by process of photosynthesis, what they do? They take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. But during respiration, even plants take oxygen and give out carbon dioxide. Understood? But only during photosynthesis, what they do? They take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen. So what happens? Oxygen is required for all the living organisms to breathe, isn't it? Okay, so they are going to provide us with oxygen to breathe and consume carbon dioxide. In addition, forests provide home to various species of wild animals and plants, right? You know, no? Forest, no? You will find all the wildlife. What is the wildlife? Both plants and animals which are found in the forest are called as wildlife. So it is going to provide home or shelter. Home means shelter to various species of wild animals and plants. Since most people in India are farmers, they depend indirectly on good soil for their livelihood. No, India is a land of farm, isn't it? So many farmers are there, and these farmers, if they get only the fertile soil, they are able to grow the plants. If there is no fertile soil, they cannot grow plants, isn't it? So what is happening? This soil is going to provide more minerals and other nutrients. So farmers will be very happy to grow plants. Okay. Now let us see about formation of soil. How is this soil formed? The formation of soil is a process that takes over hundreds of years. Okay. So it is soil means directly you cannot get the soil. How this soil is formed? It is formed because of there are certain reasons how this soil is formed. Okay. Especially the soil is formed from rocks. So we will see that how it is formed. So the formation of soil is a process that takes over hundreds of years. The factors that help in the formation of soil are, first one, water. See, water is also responsible for the formation of soil. How? Now see, when water in the form of rain, waterfalls or rivers moves down the slopes of mountains and hills, it carries with it small rocks and pebbles. So normally children, when the rainfall is there and when waterfalls, you have seen waterfalls also, isn't it? Shimsha and all that, when you go you can see the big waterfalls, Jog falls and all, you know. So what happens in the form of rain and waterfalls, or when the river water moves, river you know, it's not a stagnant water, it is a flowing water, right? When all this starts moving, what they do? Whatever comes in its way will be carried, right? So when this water, especially rainfall and waterfalls, directly falls on the rock, continuously it is going on falling on the rock, what will happen to the rock? Rock will start breaking. It will start breaking. So that is one reason. So I'll read it. When water in the form of rain, waterfalls or rivers moves down the slopes of mountains. So when it's moving through mountains and hills, it is a slopey area, isn't it? So water will not stand, water will be flowing. Slopes of mountains and hills, it carries with it small rocks and pebbles. What is the small rocks? Small stones. Understood? Small stones when it is going to carry. In the process of bringing them down the slopes, so when it is coming down from the slopey areas, it is coming down, isn't it? So in the process of bringing them down the slopes, the water breaks these rocks into finer particles that eventually settle in the plains. So when it is falling, it is carrying water, it is also rushing, no? In that speed, what is happening? It is coming through the slopes. What happens to these stones, big stones? It will start breaking and it becomes into smaller pieces, right? And then it will go and settle where? In the plain area, flat area, okay? Yeah. So the water breaks these rocks into finer particles and eventually settle in the plains on the flat surface. These particles keep on accumulating to form soil. So what happens? They break and finally what happens? They form the soil. That is one reason how water is going to break the rocks into soil. Second one is about climate. Extreme climatic variations break down rocks into pebbles that gradually change into soil. So, extreme climatic variations means what? Suddenly hot, suddenly cold, suddenly rain, all that sudden when it happens. And that too heavy rain, heavy sunlight and all that, what happens? There are chances of that to break. The rocks will start breaking. Okay. So, extreme climatic variations break down rocks into pebbles that gradually change into soil. The breaking down of rocks due to exposure to the Earth's atmosphere is known as weathering. Weathering of rocks it is called. What is that? The breaking down of rocks. Bandekallu, doddu bandekallu. Okay. So the breaking down of rocks due to exposure, it is already exposed. It is open, isn't it? It is exposed to the Earth's atmosphere. Earth's atmosphere means not the air. So in this air, what happens? There may be rain, there may be heat and light of the sun, and there is what? The dust particles, humidity, everything. Humidity means the moisture which is present. So all this what happens, and there is wind blowing, right? All this will break the rocks, and these rocks breaking the rocks and making into smaller particles, that is called as weathering of rocks. Coming to the next one is plants. The roots of various plants penetrate into the cracks and crevices of rocks, breaking them into smaller and fine pebbles which eventually change into soil. Now children, you have seen the rocks, isn't it? There will be cracks. You would have seen it if you have gone for some picnic or something that you would have seen. These big stones, bandekallu. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ cracks ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ open ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So it will be open like that. That time what happens? Water will be moving, wind will be blowing, and then heat will be entering into that. So what happens? These cracks, see they have given in between that what happens? The plant's roots. So wherever they get space, what happens? The roots also will start penetrating. So when the roots penetrate, what happens? It will start opening. It becomes bigger and bigger. Okay, that's the meaning here. The roots of various plants penetrate into the cracks and crevices of rocks. So wherever there is opening, it just moves. The root will move inside. Crevices of rocks, breaking them into smaller and fine pebbles, which eventually change into soil. Okay. Coming to next is types of soil. There are 6 types of soil found in India. These support the cultivation of different types of crops. Let us read about them. So now let us see about the types of soil. First is alluvial soil. The rivers of the northern mountains bring with them large quantities of silt and alluvium which gets deposited on the banks of the river and the areas around it. So alluvial soil. Alluvial soil means what? The rivers of the northern mountains. What do you mean by northern mountains? Where actually there is snow, isn't it? Ice and snow will be there. So what happens? When the river is flowing from there, what happens? Even they bring the big ice pieces also, right? So when it is flowing, what happens? They bring with them large quantities of silt. Silt means what? Fine mud particles. Very fine, soft mud particles. That is called as silt. So they are carrying the silt and alluvium and the mud. Okay? Silt is very fine particles of mud, and the other mud particles, that is called as alluvium, which gets deposited on the banks of the river and the areas around it. So in banks of river, ನದಿಯ ತೀರ, ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಮಣ್ಣು ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದು ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಸೇಯಿಂಗ್ ಹಿಯರ್. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ ಗೆಟ್ಸ್ ಡೆಪಾಸಿಟೆಡ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ರಿವರ್ಸ್ and the areas around it, around the river. So everywhere you see this silt and other particles, alluvium particles. This forms the alluvial soil. So what happens? That is going to form the alluvial soil. The alluvial soil is rich in minerals and hence very fertile. So it is very fertile. Alluvial soil is also found in the deltas of the rivers of the Deccan Plateau. So where do you find this alluvial soil? You are seeing on the deltas of the river of Deccan Plateau. It is ideal for growing crops such as this alluvial soil. It's very good for crops like wheat, godi, rice, maize, oil seeds, jute, tobacco, etc. For all these things like wheat, rice, maize, oil seeds, jute, tobacco. Tobacco is tobacco. For all these things, what is very important? The alluvial soil is very good for their growth. Okay. So let me stop it here, children. We will continue in the next class. Thank you.